Alright guys, what's happening? So, on my channel, the Mr. Lad channel, one of the things I love doing the most, which I happen to do the most, is product reviews. There's something about getting chemicals in your hands, there's something about getting brand new tools, there's something about getting a hold of brand new products and equipment that just gives me a thrill, and I love talking about them, and that's kind of where my channel is gravitated towards, especially with how these products operate in a mobile scenario. So with that being said, Mjjc reached out to me. Most of us are probably familiar with who Mjjc is. You've seen a lot of their stuff on Amazon. They tend to be some of the lower priced items that a lot of people, when they're starting a business, they're like, I don't got $1 million to go ahead and invest in my company. I've only got a few bucks, so let's go ahead and let's just get this. And Mjjc usually ends up being in that person's arsenal, especially when they first start their business. But Mjjc went ahead and they expanded themselves, and they went and broadened into a new horizon with the Foam Cannon Pro. Now, Mjjc reached out to me and said, hey, we like the way you do your reviews, we like the way you go ahead and post your content, would you be willing to do a video for us of the Foam Cannon Pro? So they sent this out to me, and of course I am more than honored to do this review for you guys. Thank you for sending out the Foam Cannon Pro. So when Mjjc sent out the Foam Cannon Pro to me, it came in a box, and I'll be honest, I was thoroughly shocked at the box because the presentation was really, really nice. The only discrepancy I have with the box is a little bit of the language issue, but we understand that Mjjc is an overseas company. This is words that they had in their native language translated into English, and it doesn't translate the best over. So guys, I would be more than happy to work with you to make sure that we can fine-tune the vernacular and the language on the box, and I think that this can be definitely even that much better. Nonetheless, they sent it out to me in a nice box where the box has a brief description of some of the different specifications of the new generation. It has thicker foam, there's more functions to it, there's easier using, bigger capacity, and stabler standing. I'm assuming that's referring to the actual shape of the bottle, which we'll get into. And of course, when you open the box, you get a foam cannon, which I've already opened and assembled together. We'll go ahead and we'll talk about the foam cannon first, and we'll go back to some of the stuff you'll find inside of the box. But obviously, one of the biggest noticeable factors of the Foam Cannon Pro is the shape of the foam cannon. So obviously, companies have been doing this more recently because it's much more stable when it comes to being in your arsenal, whether it's a vehicle, your garage, your setup. It has an easier place to stand, especially because these nozzles are so heavy. The more slender foam cannon reservoir bottles, they kept on falling over. And so with that being said, they went ahead and went this route like some other companies have done, and it does actually make a difference. Now I will say, with me being in my vehicle and I put my foam cannon down, because the top is so heavy, it really doesn't make that much of a difference for me. I still have issues sometimes where it does topple over, but you know, that comes with the territory. When you're racing down the road at 80 miles an hour and you're doing quick turns and you're acting like Speed Racer and the Silver Surfer here, it's kind of what happens. Nonetheless, it does provide some more stability, and a lot of people that I've talked to about it have actually noticed that it does provide more stability. When you go ahead and you detach it, well, when it comes in the box, you're gonna notice it's all detached fully. The first thing that stood out to me was this intake tube, and I thought it was so neat, not because it's the intake tube itself and it's just a regular tube, whatever, but the little metal ball at the end of it. And I think that's so neat because that means that the objective is to keep the intake tube as straight down as possible, and if it does fray or bend over time, the metal ball, this little heavy ball, kind of keeps it down. The only issue I found with it is that when you're running to lower on product, like around 300 milliliters of solution in the foam cannon, what happens is as you're moving it, you see that it kind of moves like a pendulum, and so it will take in more air, and so you will notice the foam cannon kind of not going on and off, but you'll notice that the soap kind of stops coming out for a second whenever this is hitting air. So that is the one con to it and the downside of that. Nonetheless, I think that's some great innovation. I personally haven't seen it before in the different foam cannons that I've used, and so I thought that was really, really neat. Another thing that, and this will probably be the last con that I mention of the Foam Cannon Pro, okay, I'll just get straight into it. In here, you'll see these little holes, right? So I'm not sure what those are for. initially when I received the Foam Cannon Pro, there were two little rubber stoppers that went inside of there. But here's the deal, as time has gone on, those rubber stoppers have fallen out. And when they fall out, what ends up happening is that there is no stopping. There's no stopper between these holes in the reservoir. So if it does tip over, it's going to spill. Now, I don't know what the purpose of those rubber stoppers were. I'm assuming it's a pressure relief system where if pressure builds up here from the bottle shaking around or something like that, it's kind of like a way that it can relieve the pressure, so there's really not that much issues. Kind of like how the IK foamer, you'll pump it up and you'll lift it up and then it relieves the pressure if you need be. I'm assuming it's one of those things. Nonetheless, they did fall out, and I would like a little bit more clarification as to what those stoppers were for. And if they were for pressure, hold on, I got my camera going crazy. If they were for pressure, is it something that maybe we can alter a bit? Is there a way that we can change that? Maybe a plastic piece that has an automatic uplift, kind of like the IK foamer. I don't know. I think those are just some ideas here. That does cause some issues. Nonetheless, we move forward. So the cool thing is, obviously, because this has a wider base, the brim of the base is much more, not stout, it's much wider, it's much more open. And so for me in my business, what I like to do is I like to have my foam cannon solution pre-diluted. So I'm taking solution out of a 1 gallon bottle into here, and because it's such a wide mouth nozzle, it doesn't spill. And I've noticed that with the more slender and narrow standard foam cannons, I spill, and it's not necessarily that I waste solution. Yes, as a business, that's an expense, but more the fact where I'm getting solution everywhere, and if I'm doing things at the back of my car, then that solution gets into the car, now soap's on the vehicle. It just becomes a little more problematic. So I think that they definitely solved something there, and I think these companies that have used these more wide brims, I think that they definitely, they're on the right track there. Cool thing is that obviously this is a very, very heavy top, and so that means that it's very, very sturdy. These metal pieces are very, very durable. I'll be honest, I've had this for some time now. I've knocked it around. I haven't purposely thrown it, but you know, things fall over, things move around, things get shifted around, and I haven't had any issues because of how durable this is. So you have the standard soap and soap to air intake and all that, the plus and minus, so I just keep it all the way open so I can just get full max suds, because I just love those eye candy things right there. But it's very, it's very easy to use. It's an easy to move nozzle. It doesn't move too much. It does exactly what it needs to be. Here's the cool thing about this. So with this right here, there's two different pieces you see. There's the red part and the black part. When you do the black part, when you just do the black part by itself, it is a little problematic to move all by itself. You kind of have to put a hand on the red part. But what that does is that adjusts how wide the fan is. So if I want to shoot it like a straight stream, I have it all the way closed, and it kind of, or all the way open, I guess, and it would be just like one little stream. If I open it up, then it goes into the more of the fan, which we all like, and that's how you get a good even lather around the vehicle. I think that's neat. And then this part right here, when you turn it by the red part of the nozzle, what happens is that adjusts the fan from going to vertical to horizontal. And I think that's really, really neat and unique, because if I'm in a situation where I've got multiple cars that I'm working on and it's direct sunlight and I'm by myself and there's 2 cars or 3 cars in the driveway or in the parking lot right next to each other, you don't want to get soap on one vehicle to another, especially if you've just detailed, if you've just cleaned it. You want to make sure that it is, you're not getting extra. And so most people, they keep their fan like this because Instagram, it looks cool and all that. But for those certain scenarios, I like having it in a horizontal. That way it's easier to control the foam, and I find it much easier to actually control what I'm doing in that sense. So guys, I really do like this. Let me go ahead and take you to the box now, where I'll show you what exactly is inside of the box. Now, of course, the box itself, it kind of shows how to go ahead and use a foam cannon. Oh, there you go. How to use the foam cannon. It's very standard. This is obviously gravitating towards people who don't really know much about the detailing industry or how to detail. They saw one guy do it, and so they're like, well, how do you do it? And I think it's pretty cool that they had this laid out there for those who, as detailers, we see it as common sense, but for someone who's never done it before, nothing is common sense. It's a whole new world to them. And this is a cool way to kind of break the ice and see how exactly do I do it. Of course, great packaging. It's a nice sturdy cardboard box. It looks great. I mean, I think they did a great job with that. Here is like a specification pamphlet. It kind of talks about the different foam cannons that they offer, and it kind of shows some of the different specifications and kind of the differences between the different foam cannons. And I think that's neat, guys. If there's a lot lot of wind. I do apologize here. I'm working with what I got over here. I do apologize though. It comes with an extra 1.1 millimeter orifice. The one that's already attached to the foam cannon, I believe, is a 1.25, which is pretty open, and so that allows it to have more foam, and that's one of the things that they pride themselves on. It's more foam, about 30% more foam than normal foam cannons, or at least in previous generations, so that's pretty neat. Also, you get a couple extra meshes, some of the meshes and the filters that come with the foam cannon, and that's really neat. In case one does go out on you, you can go ahead and replace it, and I think that's good. That's right, that's good right there. A thing that you do want to be cautious of is when you're using the Foam Cannon Pro, you want to make sure that every once in a while you do rinse it out. Let me go ahead and kind of take you into it, then I'll actually show you how the foam cannon works. So this little ball at the bottom, I've noticed even right now, it's a little gunked up. There's a little bit of like soap and stuff in there. It's about time for me to rinse it out. So what you can simply do is go ahead and take just some warm water, some lukewarm water. If you have DI water, good for you, it's game time. But if not, like most people, just go and fill up some water, room temperature water. It's summertime, it's hot outside. The tap water in itself is very hot anyway. Just go ahead and put that in. Screw the foam cannon together, attach it to your pressure washer, and just rinse it through, and that's a great way to rinsing out. I know of people who have put like a cap full of bleach and stuff like that. I personally have never done that. I wouldn't recommend doing it, but I know of detailers who have done it, and they say it works very well. Do that to your own discretion. Definitely thicker than a standard foam cannon, that is for sure. So there you guys have it. That was the Mjjc Foam Cannon Pro, and at the time of this video, at the time of this recording, the Foam Cannon Pro is advertised on its website for $59 even. And so the cool thing about this, when you go through the website, it seems like they have different Foam Cannon Pros for each individual type of pressure washer. Maybe not every individual company, but at least the different types of pressure washers: Italian pressure washers, electric pressure washers, gas powered pressure washers, and even varies in range even within there between different PSI limits and all that stuff. So I think that's a pretty cool feature that Mjjc is really trying to offer their clientele: more customization, something customized for their own setup. And so I think that's pretty neat. Like I said, it's $59 at the time of this recording, and I do happen to really like the Foam Cannon Pro. And so what I think what the Foam Cannon Pro really fits well in is if you're the kind of user who just kind of has always used the cheap Amazon foam cannons, the cheap stuff, the $20 stuff, the $15 stuff, which has kind of been me. I mean, I'm familiar with other companies out there that have more high-end foam cannons, the $90 foam cannons, $100 to $120 foam cannons, and I think honestly these two foam cannons are very comparable. I think that the Mjjc holds up to those extremely high-end foam cannons while obviously doesn't break the bank. One of the cool features that that it has is it comes with a 1.25 millimeter orifice and has an extra 1.1 if that suits your needs better. And I think that that's really, really neat, and that's what truly allows it to have the extra foaming capabilities that this new generation claims to have. So I think it really works very well in that aspect. The only things I don't like is those rubber stoppers at the top that fell out. I'm not sure exactly why they fell out. I'm not sure exactly what they're meant for, but they fell out, and so now product does spill if the foam cannon topples over, which kind of defeats the whole bigger base and the stabler base. Not only that though, but the other thing that I don't like is the intake tube, because the metal ball at the bottom of it, as I'm using the foam cannon, when the foam cannon gets low, it moves around like a pendulum, and so then that kind of does get in the way of the usage. Is that a big deal? Not really a big deal. I think that's just more of a design error or a design flaw, and I think as time goes on, both of those issues will be assessed, and I think that actually, I think once they'll be assessed, I think then we'll really see the Foam Cannon Pro shine as I think it should, because I think it's actually a really good foam cannon. Those two things and those two things alone really just kind of, oh, okay, well, I guess everything has its pros and cons, if that makes sense. So guys, if you like the Foam Cannon Pro, if you like the characteristics and the quality of it, I'm going to leave a link in the description box below if you want to go ahead and get it. Click that link and go ahead and purchase the Foam Cannon Pro through there. To be 100% transparent and 100% open and honest, I do receive a small 10% commission for anyone who purchases through there. So I want you to know that this is an honest review, and this is not a review that's trying to get money or get commission sales. As I showed, there are pros and there are cons to the foam cannon. I do like it, but it does have its cons. But like I said, there's a link in the description box below if you want to go ahead and use that link to go ahead and purchase the Foam Cannon Pro. And to end up on this note right here, I will use the Foam Cannon Pro as long as I have the Foam Cannon Pro, and yes, I will most likely buy a new one unless a new upgrade comes out on the market or another company even tops what's been given now, because I think for the $60 price point, I think the Mjjc is really kind of pulling the reins here, and I think that as far as that price point goes, I think Mjjc takes the cake. Once again, guys, Mr. Ladd here signing out. Thank you so much for tuning into my channel. If you have not already done so, please click that subscription button, click the notification bell, whack the like button for the YouTube algorithm. Thank you so much, guys. Have a wonderful day.